Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable Live. It is me, one of your hosts, Dalton Burdett, with the other incredible, amazing host, Nicholas Ericchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I am underrated, my friend. How are you?
Ha ha ha! I see what you've done there. Yes, so it was kind of a slow news week this week. So Nick and I were kind of discussing, what could we do on the show, and I feel like every time we talk, like even outside the podcast, like honest to God, just whenever you and I have a discussion, it eventually leads to something movie related. And we just were kind of chatting, and then it kind of became just talking about things that we like, things we don't like, and then we started talking about actors naturally, and then it wound its way down to like, who's really underrated? This person. It's like, no, you know who's really underrated? This person. And then I was like, stop. This is the show, because we've had no fucking news stories break.
And then
So
we're just in a room shouting names at each other.
correct. That's pretty much all we do anyway. But yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. It was kind of fun to kind of just think about some actors. We really appreciate their work. We think that they're great at what they do. And we just don't think they don't get enough credit for the exact work that they do. And now that varies. And something I want to point out. You're going to see names on this list of people who are very famous and people who already have big acclaim. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, why is this person underrated if they're already famous? And it's because we think even with their current recognition, it still does not amount to the recognition that we feel like they deserve to be getting. That's kind of where we're at. Now, some of the picks you may have never heard of the actors we're going to talk about, but you will see a couple famous people, and that's the reasoning behind it. So, Nicholas, without further ado,
Oh boy.
I'm going to cut to your lovely PowerPoint here. Again, always appreciate you, buddy.
We're down to the wire on that one. That last image went in right as we hit live.
I know it was lovely. You timed it perfectly. But first up, on our topic of the most underrated actors working today, nice little thumbnail we curated for you guys, and we'll get to that person here in just a minute. But first, let's talk about Patrick Wilson. We love Patrick Wilson. Anyone who's watched us for any period of time knows that we love Patrick Wilson. Now, I'm going to throw it over to you because this was your pick. But before I
Yes.
do so, let me quickly just kind of go through some of his filmography. You have the Conjuring franchise, the Insidious franchise, the Phantom of the Opera, Watchmen, The Founder, Prometheus, Aquaman. He even had a little voice cameo in Batman v Superman as the President of the United States. And Nicholas, you and I could talk all day about Patrick Wilson, but I'm cutting it to you. I'm cutting it to you. Tell me why you think Patrick Wilson is one of the most underrated actors working today.
So I think this is an example, right? Where you're like, what do you mean? The Conjuring movies are some of the most like acclaimed horror movies out there. I think it's more of just like the tying it to him and obviously his with Vera Farmiga in those movies. But I think if you look at his roles, a lot of them have been support roles outside of like the Conjuring franchise. And I think that he is someone that always just absolutely crushes his supporting roles. I think when Patrick Wilson shows up in a movie, you're going to have a good time. And I think that he brings a lot of range. We see a lot of comedy in like Orm, in Aquaman 2 specifically, right? But you also see that power, that sort of regalness with Orm in Aquaman 1. Taking it back, right? He has Watchmen, where was he
Mm-hmm.
Owl? What was the character's name? Owl something? He was
Dude,
like their Batman.
of course you say that, and it's one of my favorite graphic novels I've ever read, and I can't remember the character's name, so I will get that in
and,
one second.
and if you look at to
I think it's
the
Night Owl, but let
Night
me
Owl,
confirm.
but the Conjuring franchise specifically, right? That is it's some of the best, two of the best horror movies ever made, quite frankly, and it's due in part to him and as well Vera Farmiga, who could also be on this list, because I think that with their characters, they bring a lot of humanity to a world that is outside of our own. Right? We're dealing with a lot of supernatural, spiritual forces, weird little creatures running amok, and you need someone who can anchor that down. One of the best scenes in the whole franchise has no scares. It's in Conjuring 2 when he's singing the cover of Elvis in the guitar to the other cast, and it's a moment that brings a lot of subtlety to the movie, and it humanizes everyone there. And I think you need a strong performer to anchor that. And the reason I'm putting on here is I would love to see him get more leading man work. I would love to see him get something that he can, I think his comedy chops are really high. I could see him in something zany. Like I think he would be excellent in like a Knives Out movie. I think he'd be excellent in like a Bong
Mm,
Joon-ho movie, something where you can really honestly, even a Wes Anderson, I think he could crush. I think
dude.
he's just someone that has a lot of range that I think just needs to be given the right project to really showcase that range as opposed to just going into a bunch of different projects.
No, look, I agree. He could absolutely crush a Wes Anderson film. By the way, it is Night Owl was the character's name. But I think everything you just said is 100% correct. The Wes Anderson thing particularly, I know I've harped on it twice now, but like you said that and like this thing like went off in my brain of like how has that not happened? Like how has that not happened yet? It would be such an interesting thing to see. But yes, I love Patrick Wilson. He's somebody who was a character actor that's slowly transitioning into being a leading man. And you're going to see other character actors on our list as well. But Patrick Wilson is just somebody who, where even if the movie around him isn't that great, he's giving it his all. And like that is a key whenever you're casting. You want actors who will commit to what the story you're telling and commit to the performances that they are giving. And I think Patrick Wilson.
Oh, good.
I was going to say, I think Patrick Wilson is just a hugely underrated performer. But go ahead.
Do you know how there's some actors as well, like a Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Mm.
Where it's like you are made for television.
Okay.
I think Kiefer Sutherland has a great film career, right? But I think there's certain actors, right, where it's like, oh man, they thrive on TV. Like they are great. I just don't know if they would ever make that jump maybe to being that leading man. I think he's just on the precipice of that. Where I think he got out of that TV range, but just hasn't gotten like the one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying, 100%. But guys, what are your thoughts on Patrick Wilson? Do you think he's one of the most underrated actors working today? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next actor that we're going to be talking about. And this is one of my picks, so I'll let you do an intro before I kind of take it over. Nick, tell us about Shea Whigham.
Well, Shea Whigham, again, basically this whole show is when this person shows up in a movie, you do the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where you're like, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Shea Whigham is someone who's had a number of supporting roles, right? He's been in Joker. He's the voice of Gwen Stacy's, Spider-Gwen's dad in the Spider-Verse movies, Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, just look at his Letterboxd, the last Mission Impossible series. He has the most memorable clip in Kong Skull Island when he goes to like sacrifice himself and the dragon like or lizard whatever it is smacks his tail and he just explodes. He's just an all-around great addition to any cast.
100%. And where I'll kind of dive into it too is Shea Whigham is an unbelievable character actor in that when you need a certain vibe, a certain circumstance, a certain consistency to keep showing up in your movie, whether it's to be a hater on the lead character in their journey, whether it's to be to use wrestling terms, like a jobber to make someone else like look better than they are, or if you just want someone to, when you see them on screen, you get this unfettering hatred for Ethan Hunt. Like sometimes you just need that, and Shea Whigham is the guy to pull that off. Like he's never given a performance that I've thought was weak. He always, kind of like how we used to talk about how Justin Long is like this. He comes in, he crushes what he needs to do, and then he fucks off. And it's just like he does everything right. Like whenever you see him in a role, you're like, absolutely, this was the right call. I can't believe I didn't think of Shea Whigham appearing in another movie. And his performances range. Like he's in films like, he's in everything from American Hustle and Vice to Gray Man and Kong Skull Island. Like he can encapsulate all of that. And in The Wolf of Wall Street, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he plays the yacht captain. That's one of the most memorable parts of the movie when they're on the yacht and he's like, hey man, I don't think we can make it through this storm. And Jordan Belfort's like, nah, fuck it, we can make it. And it just hard cuts to them like all about to die. And Shea Whigham is like, I'm trying my best. Like it's so
and that's like
good.
It. That's like he's in like just a small portion of that movie.
And he gave it his all. And he's just someone, again, like you say, whenever he pops up in a movie, the first thing I think is, oh, fuck yeah, he's in this. Let's go. And it's just like, you love to see him.
Bad Times at the El Royale, which is also a great film.
Yes, he was. That movie is highly underrated. If we were doing underrated movies, I would definitely, I always bring that movie up. But, 100%. Again, he's just somebody that you can always rely on. He is all reliable. And
He had
for
a
that,
wonderful turn on the TV show Righteous Gemstones, which is great with
okay.
Danny McBride,
Mhm.
John Goodman. He was hysterical on it. Like I've never seen him do like as much comedy as he did on that show, which just added like it was like another layer of appreciation that I had for him. But honestly, his last turn in Mission Impossible, the best cop characters are always just where they're like, I'm gonna get this guy, and like I'm just obsessed with him.
Dude, he
You
fucking
need you need
hated
obs-
Ethan Hunt so bad.
you need obsession. You know, that's why like a Daredevil and Kingpin scenario works so well. Like they're
Hmm.
just obsessed with each other to a certain
Yes.
degree. That was Shea Wiggum in Mission Impossible.
And something I always value in any media, whether it's books, movies, TV, video games, two people who have fight on sight beef is like my favorite thing. And you bringing up Daredevil was like the example that I thought of, but like Shea Wiggum in Mission Impossible has that vibe of like whenever I see this guy, I'm gonna fucking punch this guy. Like that's just like there's no discussion. Like this is just how it's gonna go. And he just encapsulates it perfectly. He's a wonderful actor. Guys, what do you think of Shea Wiggum? Is he one of the most underrated actors working today? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next actor. And Nicholas, I'm going to introduce Judy Greer. Now, Judy Greer is someone that, again, you probably recognize, even if you don't think you recognize, especially vocally. She's also someone who gives a lot of excellent vocal performances as well. And if I'm wrong and I just completely butchered that, please forgive me. Isn't she Pam and Archer?
No, she's not Pam. She's Cheryl
Cheryl.
Carol, whatever be it.
Yes,
Yeah, the one
yes.
with all the
I got
different
the character
names.
wrong. Yes.
Yeah.
But she is an Archer. And she's excellent in that voice role, by the way. But Judy Greer is one of these actors who, again, kind of like Shea Wiggum, is someone who's just the perfect character actor who comes in, does exactly what the script requires, exactly what the script needs, and then lets the movie kind of carry on their way. And she isn't someone who's really migrated to movie star status, but she is someone who's started to slowly pop up in more blockbuster-like films such as the 2018 Halloween, such as Jurassic World. I particularly liked her in Jurassic World. And, you see her pop up in these films, and Ant-Man as well. And, again, she always just has the goods. So she's one of yours. I'm going to let you dive into it more. But tell us why Judy Greer is one of the most underrated actors working today.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a little recency bias on this because I've also been rewatching Arrested Development, where she has several episodes where she plays Kitty, the assistant to George Sr. And it's just a wild comedic performance. It's a quirky, obscure character, and tonally, she just hit exactly every mark that they want her to. And I think that's the best description of Judy Greer. She will hit the mark every time. And speaking of you, right, she was in horror movies, right? She's the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween franchise. And she fit perfectly into that, dealing with Mike Myers. That scene when she has Michael's hat or mask
Mm,
and is
yeah.
like taunting him, fantastic. If you look at her vocal performances, like you had said, right? So we had Cheryl on Archer, who's probably one of the funniest characters on that whole show. She was the
Yes.
voice of, I believe, that weird pig creature in Guardians 3, because I think her and James Gunn go back a little bit. Um, and even going back to more like, adaptation with Nick Cage, she was like the love interest in that movie. That movie had a bunch of award accolades. She's also had turn on so many TV shows, Big Bang Theory. She was on a wonderful show, which was sort of a very tight ensemble, but she was sort of one of the main characters on Reboot, which was a Hulu original, which was hysterical. And I recommend everyone watch it, even though they canceled it after one season. Um, and even just the wide ranging of it, right? So even if you look at, she's in the Planet of the Apes movies. She's Cornelia, Caesar's wife. So she could do the motion capture. She can just honestly, she's just great, which is really kind of the trend here of this person's great. But
Yes, exactly.
I think she's reliable, she's consistent and wide ranging, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and listen, all the names that we've listed, like as you're talking, I'm thinking of like, man, because earlier when we were kind of thinking of names, we were like, oh, let's only do like a couple, like 6 or so. I have like 3 more that I'm like, damn it, I could have brought this person up. So we'll have to do a part 2 to this eventually because like there's so many more to bring up. But everything you said about Judy Greer is correct. And, I'm glad that she was mentioned on the list. I hope that more people can dive into her work. And guys, what do you think? Is Judy Greer one of the most underrated actors working today? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next actor. And Nicholas, give us a nice intro to David Dastmalchian.
This is David Dastmalchian. He's someone that has been around for a long time, especially if you roll through like his later credits. But he really picking up a lot of steam lately. I mean, his credits go back all the way to like The Dark Knight, But if you look at his credit, Last Voyage of the Demeter was really a movie that sort of gave him a good amount of screen time on it, right? But I mean, he's worked on all the Ant-Man films. He's worked on Prisoners, Blade Runner 2049. He was in the first Dune. He was in James Gunn's Suicide Squad. And more recently, he was in Oppenheimer. He's working with a wide variety of directors and actors. Oh, and he was in, I never saw it, but what was the horror movie he did, the talk show last year?
Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil was finally, that was pretty well critically received, which kind of gave him a frontman status, if you will. But this is your pick, so I'll let you dive in more as to your reasoning why.
Thank you, buddy. Excellent intro, by the way. But David Dastmalchian's one of my picks because, first off, if Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, 2 of the best filmmakers working today, constantly put you in their films, you are doing something right. Like it's going to show that like what you do and what your role is, and that role being, again, a trend with the people on this list, the character actor, the someone who needs to come in, give a specific point or a specific vibe, get our lead characters to a specific place, and then you're done. I think no one honestly does it better working today than David Dastmalchian. And kind of like earlier in the list with Patrick Wilson, he is somebody who's slowly been trying to transition into more leading roles, while not, saying no to those side roles, because he also had a very small role in the most recent Boogeyman film, and he was excellent in that. I thought he was really good in that. And kind of going through his picks here, like The Dark Knight, he plays the Arkham patient with schizophrenia that Harvey Dent interrogates in the alleyway, and in even that little moment, he's incredibly creepy, and that was his first film role, which is insane. He also, his performance in Prisoners, also excellent. Denis knows how to use him for his vibe really well. In Ant-Man, he leans more into comedy, and he's really funny in those films, even in the What If, when he reprised the role of that character. The Suicide Squad is Polka Dot Man. I thought he was great, and like even all the way up to his character's end, I thought his performance, he was perfectly cast in that role. But the movie I really want to talk about here,
how do you do Polka Dot Man?
Right, and the answer
that's David Dastmalchian, quite frankly. But
yeah, the answer is like how he did it, but I wouldn't have known that until I saw it. And the movie I really want to talk about though, and I didn't realize you haven't seen it yet, and that's Late Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil, to me, is a huge crushed role for David Dastmalchian, because he is the lead. That this movie is like barely 90 minutes, and he is in every scene practically, and he never ever once loses the charisma you need to maintain that, not only as David Dastmalchian in that role, but when it's a talk show and he has that talk show persona, the way he's able to do that, and the way that film is made is it's all supposed to be from reels of footage from the last episode. Again, these ridiculous fucking celebratory emojis that come up when I do things is crazy. But in the footage that you see, essentially, it'll be footage from the actual episode where he's on and he's the talk show, and then you'll hear cut, and then it'll go black and white, and it's like the behind the scenes where he completely changes and then goes backstage and like has other conversations, and the way that he seamlessly can go from that character to the kind of fake TV host character, but you can see where they're one and the same, and whenever he's not acting on the game show or on the talk show as that character and he's being the other character, like when something falls through, like the way he's able to encapsulate that, like he gave a masterful performance in that movie. And it just goes to show, like, Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan, I guess you could say, aren't idiots. They know talent when they see it. And the reason why they keep using this guy up is because they're like, God damn, he's good. Like, we need to use him up before someone takes him and, like, goes on a big franchise. And, Late Night with the Devil was a really cheap movie. So obviously they couldn't, do a whole lot post that in terms of his career. But I would love to see him in more lead roles because he's capable, but he also understands the value of the traditional parts that he plays. An actor will say there's no small parts, and he is a perfect example of that. That's David Dastmalchian.
No, he's fantastic. I am excited to watch Late Night with the Devil because, to me, he's sort of that tall, kind of brooding, weird, quirky guy, even like with Polka Dot Man. So I am very curious to see, like, talk show, like, very personable and, like, on all the time. He gives, like, sort of the, like, anxious, like, don't look at me vibe. So to be, like, in that scenario, I would love to see just his range in that regard. I feel like with David Dastmalchian, it's going to be a situation, right, where, and I'm not saying it'll be Christopher Nolan, right, but the story with Oppenheimer, right, when he gives Cillian Murphy the script and says, "Now's your turn to lead."
Yeah.
I there's gonna be some huge director where it's like, this is the big budget movie. Let's fucking do this.
100%.
And I'm very excited for that day.
Yeah. And the only reason you haven't seen him in Dune 2 and in Dune Messiah is because his character died in Dune 1. Like, if his character didn't die, Denis Villeneuve would, like, whatever next non-Dune movie Denis Villeneuve makes, I bet you this guy pops up. I bet you this little freak pops up. And I mean that with the utmost, like, compliment. Very positive freak this guy is. Love him. Love David Dastmalchian. But guys,
thinking of it now, and we should have probably done it in the past just to look at what they got coming up, if anything. I didn't think about it. It doesn't look like, oh, he's going to be in One Piece.
Nice.
Or he was in One Piece. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. But guys, what do you think of David Dastmalchian? Is he one of the most underrated actors working today? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next actor, and Nicholas. Allow me to introduce your next pick, Mr. Vince Vaughn. He is obviously a huge star and has been around for a really long time, has given a plethora of performances throughout his career, mostly comedic, but he's also really dabbled in dramatic roles, and when he takes dramatic roles, he fucking crushes them. There are so many examples of this, whether it's Hacksaw Ridge, whether it's Brawl in Cell Block 99. Like, there are so many roles that this guy can do just excellently. And he's also a consummate improviser, and you can talk to everyone he's worked with will tell you, like, when he goes, it's just like the most incredible improvisation you've ever seen, and on the next take he'll do it again, and it's all new stuff, and it's like, that's wild, like, that someone is able to do that. And I mean, look at this filmography. You have Dodgeball, Freaky, Anchorman, Zoolander, Into the Wild, Brawl in Cell Block 99, Old School is a great movie, Fighting with My Family, which he was excellent in. I ordered that Blu-ray recently. I love that movie. But anyway, this is Vince Vaughn. Nicholas, tell us why, even with his star status, why he's one of the best actors working today.
Well, so here's the thing. We've just named all his comedy movies, yes, and he is very wide-ranging in the comedy that he's able to do, right? You could drop him off in Anchorman, drop him in Dodgeball, which Dodgeball might be my favorite of the bunch here. I love that movie. But what I really want to focus on, and really why, because I would say he's not underrated as a comedy actor. I think he needs to be.
I see what you're doing.
I think he needs to be in a lot more comedy still. And on his Hot Ones episode, which is a fantastic episode, he talks about, like, he was making these types of comedies that they don't work anymore, and he's just been trying to find sort of that way back in, which I understand and respect, right? Comedy's always changing, so sometimes you have to adapt. But the reason I'm including him is because I think he's underrated as a dramatic actor. So I want to point out specifically Hacksaw Ridge and Fighting with My Family, where Fighting with My Family wasn't full drama, but his role, he was the one who was pushing Florence Pugh's character to that next level. I don't remember any of the wrestlers' names. You have him sharing scenes with The Rock, and he, Hacksaw Ridge, I thought he should have been nominated for a supporting actor Oscar, personally, for that movie. The depth and range he's able to bring, well, also all these moments of levity because he's the drill sergeant, right? He's comedy. He's making fun of them as you see with like every war movie, and then the shit gets real, and he's like, "We're gonna fucking die." Like I don't think you understand the shit we're in right now. Which I thought he just balanced it perfectly. And as a TV dramatic actor as well, he has a wonderful turn in season 2 of True Detective, which I know a lot of people weren't a big fan of the season as a whole, but he was sharing scenes with Colin Farrell, Academy Award nominated, winning, and TV Emmy, everything, and for him to be going toe to toe with Colin Farrell in a dramatic sense is just overly impressive. And same thing with his turn on the Apple show Bad Monkey. I think
Mm-hmm.
that one had a little bit of comedy in it, is my
Yeah,
understanding,
yeah,
but
it was a dramedy. Mm-hmm.
it was a dramedy, so I think he has a lot of underrated dramatic range that I think he needs to explore more.
No, 100%. Like, you nailed that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, everything you said, I was just kind of sitting back here going, "Preach, preach." It's so true. It's so true. And you'll actually find with a lot of comedic actors that they're actually exceptional dramatic actors as well. And like that, the break that you're kind of talking about is the break that Paul Rudd was able to do, where and it was probably through the success of Ant-Man, but now you see him in movies like Death of a Unicorn, which still has comedic elements in it, but like he would have never gotten an A24 movie like that prior to that break. You also see him in stuff like The Shrink Next Door, the Apple show based on the podcast where he plays someone who's incredibly manipulative and annoying, like someone that a comedic actor normally wouldn't play. And so you're seeing a lot of these comedic actors break through in that way, and they'll tell you, and I've seen it, comedy is so much harder than drama. And so when you have someone who's exceptionally talented at comedy, they can normally pick up drama no problem. So it doesn't shock me that we've seen great performances from Vince Vaughn like this, and I agree with you. He's underrated in that department and should get more. Absolutely, absolutely. But guys, what do you think? Is Vince Vaughn one of the most underrated dramatic actors working today? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our final name before we get to the box office. But, Nicholas, for my last pick, I'll let you go ahead and introduce a buddy. Tell us about Daisy Ridley.
Daisy Ridley. I mean, she sort of broke onto the scene, obviously, as Rey in the sequel trilogy to Star Wars, right? And that's really sort of a lot of her credits and fame, right? Her other credits include Murder on the Orient Express, Chaos Walking, Peter Rabbit, some comedy with The Bubble. More recently, The Young Woman in the Sea and The Cleaner, I think, are her last 2 credits. And she had a movie last year, which is, I don't know the name, but I know it's going to be probably a big talking point of yours. I want to say I'm thinking of Dying.
Sometimes I think about dying.
Sometimes I think about dying. I am close, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm assuming probably just, yeah. Star Wars is really kind of Rey from Star Wars. That's Daisy Ridley.
No,
But
yeah.
I'll pass it to you to go into why she's underrated outside of Star Wars.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my friend. And a trend that you see whenever an unknown actor or even an actor who hasn't done a lot, but they're newer on the scene, a younger actor, I should say, whenever you see someone like that get cast in a role that's a blockbuster, like a Star Wars or a Shia LaBeouf with Transformers, it's typically because they are exceptional actors. And there's exception to this. We've seen blockbusters where people are not very good, and turns out when you watch their other work, they're still not very good. But typically, when a studio is making a multi-million-dollar investment in you, it's because they believe that you are good. So when you see the cast of the sequel trilogy, which were a lot of relatively unknowns, they'd done some work prior, but you see them as someone who you're not used to seeing all the time. And if they're being picked, it's because someone has seen the audition tape. Someone knows, this person has it. And I also encourage you to go watch, by you, I mean just anyone listening, to go watch Daisy Ridley's audition tape for The Force Awakens. No shit she got that role. That's one of the most crushed auditions I've ever fucking seen. Like, if
I've
you
never
watch...
seen it.
Dude, she's doing the audition where Kylo Ren's trying to, like, extract the information out of her about, either, like, because she saw the map to where Luke is. Dude, in the audition, they have, in the auditions, you always get, like, that cold reader that's like, and then he ripped through her hair, and then what happened? It's literally that, but it's Kylo Ren. It's just someone reading as Kylo Ren, being like, you will tell me where Luke Skywalker is. And, dude, she's fucking crying. Her face is shaking. She's like, I can't do this. I can't betray my friend. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like, you wanted that Star Wars money. Go get it. And she got it. But my introduction to her was through Star Wars. But I was really impressed with her work. I was really impressed with that audition tape. So I kind of kept like a mental note of like, I need to watch like everything that she does because she seems like she's exceptional. And then you see movies like Murder on the Orient Express, which is a perfectly serviceable movie. She stands out in it. And she stands out in a cast that's stacked in that movie. Noted. Then you see a movie like Chaos Walking. As somebody who's a huge Doug Liman fan, that movie sucks. She gives a good performance in it. And you're like, okay, she's still standing out, even when it's something that's not very good. Everyone knows my thoughts on Rise of Skywalker. She's still very good in it. Okay, great. She was just in Cleaner, which I have not seen, but even the negative reviews of that movie, it's kind of mixed. Even the negative reviews are like, wow, Daisy Ridley's great in this movie. I also haven't seen Magpie or The Marsh King's Daughter. All glowing reviews for Daisy Ridley. Young Woman in the Sea, a movie that I thought was fine. She commands that movie when she as the lead. Like, you so believe and root for this character, and it's mostly due to her performance. Okay, very cool. What does all this mean? Guys, sometimes I think about dying. You were right, this was going to be a big point of my talk, Nicholas. That movie, one, super good, super low budget. And the fact that a Star Wars actor did that movie at how low budget it was, super fucking cool that, like, she just wanted to do that movie, one. Two, she gives a career-defining performance in that movie. Like, when I was watching her in that movie, I was like, oh my God, like, this is what those executives at Disney and Lucasfilm saw. Like, they saw this actor being like, oh my God. Like, she completely embodies this character that she's playing. The character's name is Fran, and this is the introduction to the character. This is all you need to know, okay? I'm going to do kind of an accent, but I don't do it as well as her. She does it the best. They're doing like an icebreaker at her office job, and they're going down the line. They get to her, and everyone's giving like really cutesy or like kind of like endearing answers or like being fun, like they're being social butterflies. They get to her, and she just goes, "Hi, I'm Fran. I like cottage cheese." That's all she says. And like, as soon as that happens, you're like, I know exactly who this fucking person is. And like the whole movie, she's crushing that role. And like, I was blown away. Like, I was honestly blown away by what a great performance it was. And it's a shame that almost no one saw that movie. Like, you gotta see this movie. Even if you think the movie's boring, because I can see some people, it's a very slice of life kind of movie. And I can see some people like that movie not being their cup of tea. Oh my God, she's unbelievable in it. And like, seeing her work in that movie, I was like, no shit, she got Star Wars so young. Like, and the reason why I'm saying she's underrated is because if she can operate at the level that I saw in that movie, she should have multiple Oscars. Like, that's how good she was. Like, it's such a good, I'm beating a dead horse. Guys, if you have not seen this movie, please watch it. She's so good in it. And I have a review for it on the channel. You can check it out. You can check out the review where I talk about how amazing she is in the movie. But yeah.
I will add it to the description of this video.
Thank you, buddy. But yeah, guys, what do you think, though? Do you think that Daisy Ridley is one of the most underrated actors working today, as I do? Please let us know in the comments as we move on to the box office.
The box office.
Let's get to our predictions. Which, by the way, the actual top 5 has changed slightly, but we were still both wrong. So
it changed in the 2 minutes when I made this?
I think so, yeah.
What the heck?
So Nick and I both got that Mickey 17 and Cap 4 would be 1 and 2. We were both wrong, and the monkey being number 3. We were both right about Last Breath being in there, but I think last time I checked, Last Breath actually snuck into number 3 instead of number 4. And we both got number 5 wrong. But no need to worry. The real box office is here, which I will pull up as soon as I pull some shenanigans with my computer. There we go. The box office, guys. Mickey 17 came in first, making $19 million in its opening weekend, which we'll get into in a second. Captain America Brave New World made $8.3 million, dropping 44% from week 3 to week 4. Last Breath came in third, making $4 million in its second weekend, dropping 48%. The Monkey came in fourth, dropping 39%, making $3.9 million in its third weekend. And Paddington in Peru came in fifth, dropping 18% from week 3 to week 4, making $3.7 million. Dogman came in sixth, Anora in seventh, Mufasa in eighth, Rule Breakers in ninth, and In the Lost Lands in 10th. Let's dive into some of these numbers, shall we, as I kind of get them rolling here.
I see the error that occurred. I clicked daily instead of weekend.
And
it'd be like in the comments, Russell says the box office.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you, Russell.
Russell, can I tell you something? Russell, sometimes my mental health really relies on you commenting that. So thank you for doing so. I love seeing it. It's my favorite part of the week, honestly.
Yeah,
it is. Honest to God. Fans. Honest to God, yes. Okay, with that, let's dive into some of these numbers here. Mickey 17 worldwide now has $53.3 million. It was made on a budget of $118, so it's only at 0.5 times that budget. It has some way to go before profitability, but the fact that the movie's made and out, I'll take this as an absolute win, to quote the movie star Mark Ruffalo. Captain America 4 is now at $371 million worldwide on a budget of $180, allegedly. It's at 2.1 times the budget. Still has a little bit more to go from profitability, assuming the 180 number, which we all have a feeling is not entirely accurate. But this is a lower number than I thought this movie was going to end up at, because I think this movie's barely going to cross 400 at this point. And I expected it to be a little bit higher than that, so I am surprised. Do you briefly want to... does this surprise you?
Yeah. That's my take.
Understood. Amazing. Last Breath has $14 million worldwide. I don't have a budget listed, but I imagine it was probably I'm going to guess like 30. That's a total guess, but worldwide gross is at 14. I'm going to go ahead and assume that it needs more. It's going to need some more there. The Monkey is at $45 million worldwide on a budget of 11. 4.2 times that budget. Good for Neon and The Monkey. I think it's Neon. Or is it A24?
No, I believe it was Neon.
We're going to say it was Neon.
Because I believe they did Long Legs.
Yes, they did.
So yeah, it's the same because they kept Oscar Perkins in-house.
Right. Paddington in Peru.
Neon is just the GOAT. If you watch our video from last Friday,
yes,
we explain why Neon is amazing.
Yes, we do. Paddington in Peru. Neon, please distribute Quiver. Paddington in Peru. Worldwide is at $175 million worldwide. It's at 2.3 times a little over $75 million budget, which honestly I would say is already profitable because it barely marketed here in the U.S. So I don't think that marketing spend was all that high. But regardless, good for them. That's nothing to sneeze at. By the way, Neon, I'm just kidding. Quiver's not good enough for you to distribute. You don't have to hurt my feelings by telling me no in an email. But anyway, moving on here. Anora. Let's look at Anora. Anora has made $46 million worldwide on a budget of $6. That's almost 8 times the budget. That is how you do it.
And it's up 574%.
That's what winning an Oscar does for you, baby, right there. Right there. Dogman.
And goes to show why you should keep movies in theaters longer.
100%, Nicholas, you're right. Dogman's
Sometimes you win an Oscar and people want to go see it.
Correct. Dogman's at almost 120 on a budget of 40. That's crazy. 3 times the budget. Keep making money. And we've kind of been following Mufasa and all that for a long time. Let's look at one of them days really quick just to see where we're at. Almost 50 million worldwide. That's 3.5. Hey, make some money, Keke Palmer. You deserve it. You're amazing. All right, Nicholas. The time is now. Let's do our predictions for next week.
Oh, man. What even comes out? Do we even have a ticket for Thursday?
Not yet, because I need to see if they release the IMAX times for Novocaine. We have Novocaine and Black Bag coming out.
Oh, man. New Soderbergh? That's a tough one.
You know what? I'm ready. I'm going to go first.
All right, hit me with it.
Number 1, Novocaine.
Oh.
I think it's going to go higher than 20. Number 2, we'll go Mickey 17. Number 3, Captain America.
Okay.
Number 4, Black Bag.
Okay.
Number 5, Last Breath.
Ooh.
Boom. That's what I'm feeling. That is what I'm feeling.
Man. I'm gonna go Novocaine number 1 as well.
Okay.
And then Mickey's at 19, so that puts it at what, like 9.5?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go Mickey 17. I'm gonna go. Fuck it. I'm gonna go Black Bag.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
I'm gonna go Captain America, Brave New World. And then number 5, you've got Last Breath. I'm gonna go.
Do it. Do it.
I'm trying to think if I want to go Monkey or if I want to go Paddington.
Yeah, it's only a $200,000 difference. So
I know. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go the Monkey.
All right.
Monkey in 5th. I think this is Last Breath's last week at the box office, top 5.
I like what you did there. So there you have it, guys. Those are our predictions. Guys, if you comment your predictions and you're right, we'll shout you out on the show next week. With that down, as always, it's always a pleasure doing the show for you. Tomorrow night, if you watch Daredevil Born Again, right after that episode ends at around 10:30 Eastern Time, I will be doing a live spoiler discussion of episode 3. We're going to talk all about spoilers. I will be answering any live questions that anyone chimes in with. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, yeah, you'd think I had more to say. I really didn't. That was kind of it. We're just promoting that. Do you have anything else to add, Nicholas?
No, I mean, as always, descriptions, links to our social media can be found in the description below, as well to links to some of our more recent videos. We have a review for Mickey 17 out on the channel that I did. I think you just saw it, Dalton. He was
Yes, I
not in
did.
the review, but
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to toss a quick thought out, one sentence or so.
I gave it the exact same star rating as you. I thought it was quite good. I thought the third act didn't nail it, but it also didn't suck. It just kind of happened. And you were like, oh, okay, that's how it ends. All right, I'm okay with this. And I loved the sets. I loved how it looked. I loved all the performances. I think that I thought the satire was done well, but I think there were more interesting things the movie introduced that it chose to ignore in favor of the satire, which was kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm. And to find out the star rating that I gave it, either watch the review or follow me on Letterboxd.
There you go.
Gotta leave him something to tease with. And I will also link the video of the Daisy Ridley review for anyone that's interested in hearing some more in-depth thoughts on Sometimes I Think About Dying. And I don't think we have any reviews coming out this week thus far.
No, not yet.
Not that I'm aware of.
We'll have Novocaine probably this weekend.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that, but we can make that announcement again on the Friday show.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And
I think that's about it.
If one person out there watches Sometimes I Think About Dying in the next week, it was all worth it. It was all worth it. Guys, thank you as always so much for watching, and we will see you next time.